Hello, and welcome to the Hypno-Travelers on the Magical Psyche Highway podcast. That's right. Your host and tour guide is Scott Prevett, a healer, hypnotist, and a magician. And your bus driver is Jason Gobeli, also a hypnotist, an entrepreneur, and a spiritual guide. Disclaimer, neither Jason, Scott, or any of our guests here today are licensed professional psychologists or psychiatrists. So please don't make any changes to any medication or treatments that you are currently on based on the conversation that you hear here today. Just hop on the bus and enjoy the ride. Trip with us on the Inner Revelation bus. That's right.
Hey, welcome back to the Hypno-Travelers on the Magical Psyche Highway. Today we got a strange guest. That's right, it's Easter week, so we got a weird one coming in for you. We're going to go down a real weird Magical Psyche Highway. Scott, you want to bring on the guest?
Welcome, you guys, to the Magical Psyche Highway of Jason Gobeli. That's right. Today we're going to go down Jason's Magical Psychic Highway because Jason has just finished writing a book. And the title is right above your head. It's about the FFL modality. So, Jason, tell us about this FFL modality.
Oh, thanks, Scott. Yeah, so the book is called Infused Hypnosis, and it's the unlocking the transformative power of the FFL modality. And so you say, what the hell is that? What's infused hypnosis? So let me talk about that for a second. Infused hypnosis is when we're going to take and under trance, we're going to add some things. One is faith, forgiveness, and love. That's what the FFL modality stands for. And what I did was I pretty much based it on some of the teachings of Jesus Christ. Now, this isn't faith-based. It's not a Christian thing. It's just using some of the principles that are there, of that acceptance and that compassion and things like that, and opening all that up so that we can have the ability to heal on a deeper level, So that's kind of what it's all about. There's faith infused hypnosis, forgiveness based trance, and then also we have the love infused change work, so that's kind of how it works.
So you have hypnosis, and you're infusing faith, and you're infusing forgiveness, and you're infusing love into the hypnosis for the treatment.
Yeah, it kind of works like that. So the way the faith works is that I want to find what their source is, what their real power is of the client, because the client's the most important anyway. Of course, we all have our own beliefs and our own belief systems. So whether they believe in, God or Jesus or Buddha or Allah or the universe or the power of love or their higher self, I mean, what does it really matter? What matters is that there's an ultimate source that they can grab onto that's more than what they're trying to do with their own willpower. And we can use that for healing.
So it's like their higher power or higher self.
However they define it, because it's all for them. And when I say we're using the principles of Jesus, I mean, you can see that he accepted people where they were, like the Samaritan, or like the woman at the well that was being stoned and stuff like that. He accepted people where they were. So we want to accept them where they are and use the inner strength that they call on anyway and add that into the hypnosis to get more power. Now, the forgiveness, that's where we get rid of all that self-talk and all that stuff that's bad and all that baggage that we've been carrying, the negativity that we have in us from the years of regret, shame, remorse, letdown, just all the different things that can come upon us that we carry our lives. A lot of times we just need a lot of freedom from that. And this is where this comes in. If we can get to that forgiveness, we clear up the mess, we stop repeating the same behavior over and over again, then we can get to a point of freedom. Once we get to that point of freedom where that baggage that we're carrying is no longer binding us, then we can get to a point of love, loving ourselves and loving each other. And that's the neat thing about love too, is love is different than a lot of things. Like with money, if you give money away, you have less. If you give food away, you have less food. But the strange thing about love is that the more love that you give, the more you get. It expands when you give it away instead of losing it. So that's a pretty cool thing. I think that the modality starts and the transformation starts whenever we learn and get to a spot where we can get freedom from all that muck that we're carrying, call in the strength from the resources that we have within, we've always had within, because we all have our own healing powers within us. And then once we get this and we get to this point where we can not just love ourselves, but we can carry that love out to others, it becomes a ripple effect. And we can really change the other people around us and change the world one person at a time, just spreading that love throughout, throughout society. And I really believe that's what we need anyway, because this world can be a mess sometimes, but right? Just like the Beatles
Well,
said,
sure can.
yeah. So
Well,
that's
it sounds to me like you've got things working for individuals, helping them with relationships. So this can work for both individuals and couples.
yeah. Well, so I have the FFL modality, and that's actually for anyone. But then with my business, I've been specializing on dealing with, relationships and interpersonal communication, because really love is best done when it's expressed to ourselves and expressed to others. So, a person who's stuck in patterns of like toxic relationships or something like this, where they're always getting into when you look at it, there's one common factor: you. I mean, if you keep getting in these relationships that are bad, the common factor is you. So we look at this and we say, okay, well, let's transform so that we can stop and break those patterns. Now, that's one thing. But then another thing is you got people who are married and, well, they get into this rut. They fall into these old traps over and over and over again. We repeat these patterns. I call it the dance. We get into the same dances. Wouldn't it be better if we could just communicate better? Wouldn't it be better if we could express ourselves better and say what we really mean and be understood, because, we're coming with intention and purpose, and we're doing it in a more clear fashion, and we're doing it properly so we're not being offensive. So we teach communication skills and stuff like that. And that just doesn't work in the family, but that works, I mean, with the husband and wife or whatever, the partners, it works in families too. I mean, there's a lot of families where, the kid gets alienated because of his life choices, or the parent feels like they're not there because they got other things that are, in their lives, and they lose priorities. So what I do is I have a 6-week program. It's called the 6-week blueprint for relationship transformation based off the FFL modality. It's the FFL 6-week blueprint for relationship transformation. So I have a 6-week program that I do too. So that's kind of the other part that fits right in hand with the modality, and there's all kinds of things like that. Plus we have a little community that we're starting.
So tell us more about this community. Are you talking about a community on the web?
Yeah, it's on the community is actually on the Facebook. It's facebook.com/groups/faith, forgiveness, love. That's right. And so that's kind of where that's coming from.
So, Jason, tell us more about this. You have a Facebook group.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a Facebook group. It's that little community that I started. It's facebook.com/groups/faith, forgiveness, love, based off of the faith, forgiveness, love. And it's just a community where we can get there and help each other. I find that we get a lot of people coming into the community with a lot of different issues from different areas, people who are there that have worked through some things. So, when we work together, we can all get better. You kind of spread that love around. So that's what's that about. It's called the love journey. The love journey.
The
FFL.
love journey.
That's right. So that's going on. And so, it's been keeping us busy. That and of course this with our podcast here, Scott. It feels
Well,
different to not be driving the bus and to be sitting here and you're doing the driving and the guiding today.
I'm interested in some other things, though. I'm sure our viewers are too. Tell us about some of the life experiences that you've had that led you up to this point.
So Scott, I feel like this is just natural for me to be in this spot because, throughout my life, I've been through a lot. So when I was 11 years old, my father OD'd. So I had that experience I went through. So I have experience with addiction, and and I've had that experience with myself through going down those paths, and been able to overcome a lot of that, and then I also, I've been married to my wife now, and this is my second marriage. Of course, I had the bad marriage from bad times, so I've learned from my mistakes. But this marriage with Trisha that I have today, we've been together for over 30 years. So we've been together
Awesome.
for a long time, and we've went through a lot. Now, I'm not saying it's all been smooth. We've went through a lot. So we've went through some of those crazy dances and some of those things that, I'm just grateful that we're still together. And now I feel that we're really strong because we're trying to put some of these principles in our life and live by some of these principles. And then some of the other things with the family issues. I mean, for the last 20 years, since Trisha's mother had died, we've had my father-in-law has been living with us, and he has Alzheimer's. He's 98 years old now, so he was 78 when he first moved in. And we've been taking care of him for over 20 years now. And so we got experience dealing with elders and the Alzheimer's and stuff like that. And I've experienced in the family with the GLBTQ, that with all that choices, life choices there. And then I have experience dealing with kids that have been ADHD and have bipolar issues. And, we've had all kinds of things that we've been through, and we've walked through some of these things. And of course, we've learned a lot. And so it helps me that whenever I'm able to help others, I can grasp on that experience and share some of that experience and help others get through some of those turbulent times that we fall into.
And all these trials and tribulations that you've been through have helped you build this FFL modality.
Yeah, the FFL modality is it's kind of started delving into it, and then it just kind of started coming naturally. And then I said, "Oh, I got to write the book." So I wrote the book, and I call it Infused Hypnosis because there's so much you can do with hypnosis and so much that we can do with trance. But the theories and some of the experiences and some of the lessons you don't need hypnosis for. Those things you can learn. But when you do it with hypnosis, it kind of like throws it back into the unconscious mind and does some rewiring, and it just sets it off and makes it just that much better. So, of course, in the Facebook group, I can't do hypnosis because I can't hypnotize everybody on the Facebook pages like that. But I can put those principles out there and to talk about all these teachings and pick up off of the teachings of others in the community who just want to love each other and build stronger lives.
Nice. So the Facebook group and community are basically there for helping people get through life's tough decisions, life's problems,
Basically
help each
support,
other.
basically support. My original idea was, oh, well, maybe I can help people and, do this and make all kinds of money, helping this. But then it became something different. It's like, look, if I help people, when others are blessed, I'll be blessed in the long run. It doesn't have to happen like that. It'll just come my way. And I feel that everything seems to be moving smooth and falling right in place. It seems to be falling in place and it seems to be pretty natural. Yeah.
So you've got this book written now. So when is it going to be released? When are we going to be able to look forward to seeing it?
Good question. Good question. So it's written, it's formatted, the cover's done, the back cover's done, everything's ready to go. I just need to put it up, get it ready to be released. And I think I'm going to set a date, probably in a few weeks, where I have you get a little bit of build up for the release and a little bit of publicity out there. So it gets a little bit of a sting.
Or- Well, do you have a website that you send people to?
It's
How
www.
do people contact you?
It's www dot go dash under. It's go under, like go under trance, gounder.com. But there's a dash in between it because I didn't want it to say gounder. I wanted to say go under. So it's www.go dash minus sign, whatever you want to call it, under.com. So that's the website. That's got pretty much all of our hypnosis stuff. It's even got, a little bit here on there about what we got going on here with the Hypno-Travelers. And, interesting enough, I've learned a lot from our guests on the Hypno-Travelers because we've had some amazing people on here. and not all of them agree on everything. But what's been nice is that by listening to other people's philosophies on healing and philosophies on, how to help carry that healing, then I've learned a lot. And, they call it healing, and we talk about alternative methods of healing, but really, I just think it's expressions of love. I really do think that that's where the healing comes from, is we express our love to each other. So,
Nice.
yes.
That's a great way to think about it.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add for our guests this week?
Yeah, well, I kind of was thinking that, we could go on and we could talk about some things here and and talk about maybe some of the things that we've learned or done, because Scott, you've learned quite a bit too in here too. And we've been touched
Absolutely.
by quite a few of our guests. And some of the things that some of you viewers don't know is some of these guests that have worked with us have not just talked to us, through the podcast, but they've actually done healing work with us on the side. So, it's been really nice that me and Scott have had the opportunity to experience that and go through some of that stuff. And it pretty much helps change the way we are and things like that. And we all kind of have that thing inside us where we want to just do the right thing for the right reasons, right? Don't we all want to help people, Scott? We just want to be here and help people.
Exactly. I
And
think we all have that inherent gift to where we don't want to do harm to others. We just want to be happy and be free and just live life on our own terms. I think that's the biggest thing that most people could agree with. We'd all, no matter what religion, no matter what color, what race, what creed, what belief system you might have, I think we could all agree that we all just want to be happy and live happy lives and be free.
right, so we
And
want to help each other and we want to be there. But then, I learned recently, especially with the hypnosis and going through the hypnosis and stuff, I learned that, wow, this stuff really works. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen it, and some of you are on the podcast have seen it, and some of you haven't, but I've had the opportunity to do other podcasts. I've had the opportunity to do some healing work with some people, and I've recorded it and put it online. And you get that moment where the first time when I put someone under trance and it worked, it was like, wow, this is freaking amazing. I mean, we really got something here that we can work with when we help people rewire and change their lives for the better. And so, I think that's just great. And, because of everyone, including you, Scott, I mean, you helped me to learn and to do some things with, the mentalism stuff and then also with the instant inductions. I mean, I've gotten quite a bit of traction since I posted that instant induction from that podcast that we did. It's on YouTube, on the YouTube page. And you can see that instant induction there, and it's gotten quite a bit of traction. But the cool thing about it is that when I got the guy, the first thing the guy said, I said, well, what would you like? And he said, well, I'd like to get about an extra $600 so I can take this course. I'm going, no, that's not really what you want. What do you really want? And he said, I'd like to find a good woman. And I thought, well, we can do this for you. So we put him under trance. It was an instant trance. It was a 3-minute trance. And when we put him under, we instilled with him confidence, and we let him know that he will have everything that he's looking for in that woman. Those traits will come out in himself, so he'll attract that kind of woman. And to be aware that they're going to be around, that she's going to be around. Well, like 2 days after, he called me and he's telling me he's starting dating these different women, and he's much more confident. And since then, I've been back with him and done some other sessions with him, and we've done more work, to deal with some other issues and other things like that. I don't want to say it on here, but the thing of it is that it works. And when it works and you see people's lives change, it just touches you somehow. And that's what I think it's all about. It's just changing lives.
I think it was Tim Scher that said we're like ninjas. hypnotists are like ninjas because they can create such amazing change so quickly in someone, and that they're completely different when they leave than they were when they came in. And there's not very many modalities that can say that. I know there's no there aren't very many medical doctors that can say that about themselves when they can come in for a counseling or a therapy session, that when you're done you go in feeling horrible and you come out feeling just so much better and so much more relieved. I don't know too many that that's happened with,
Uh,
but in hypnotists.
yeah, I think Tim said that hypnotists are like ninjas. I think Mike Mandel was saying that, he's the wizard, the wizard, and hypnotists can do a lot, and I mean, Rich Guzzi said, it's like Manchurian candidate stuff where you can just do whatever you want to and help change lives for the better. And that's another thing too, with our business and with hypnosis, the public is so they really don't have a good view of what it is, because they think, oh, if I look in this person's eyes, they're going to make me cluck like a chicken or do something stupid. But the truth is that there's some serious healing that can be done. And I like it when Rich was talking about that too. When we interviewed him, he was saying that he always likes to leave them with the good stuff. And I know that that's just not him.
Exactly.
Jonathan Royal was saying we always want to leave these guys with the good stuff. It's out there where we want to leave people better than they were. And so, before they met us. And I think that's just so important. Whether it's one individual or a group of people, we want to leave them better than they were, before they met us. I mean, hopefully, right? We want to leave a mark on their lives.
Sure. I explain hypnosis as it's like a dance between two people. And for two people to dance together, one of them's going to lead, the other one's going to follow the directions of the leader because one has to follow. But they both have to be together for that to happen. And a hypnotist isn't some invasive type person that's going to go and steal your thoughts or take anything away from you. This hypnotist, it's a concert between you two. It's such a fine dance that it takes both of you to accomplish this hypnosis. And then it's a relaxed state. And you're just in a nice, relaxed state in a trance. And this trance, it's easier to take suggestions. And a hypnotist is just a trained person that can help you solve your problems through just talking to you and giving you suggestions while you're under trance. Sometimes a trance isn't even necessary, like you said earlier.
A dance is a great analogy there. However, sometimes I'm not sure if I'm leading or following. Sometimes it just kind of goes with the flow. Communication is when two people are going back and forth. And sometimes we just step into this thing and it's like enhanced communication where we're talking in a deeper level. And sometimes the client's just going to guide us to that healing, because that healing, inside, we know what's best for us. We just kind of get stuck in that maze, that little maze where everything's turned and twisted a little bit. And sometimes we just need to take that little flashlight and shine it in the maze so we can find our own way out. So, yeah.
Sure.
Mhm.
I think that once people learn what hypnosis is, like Mike Mandel was saying, there's a huge storm coming, and it's this gigantic wave of hypnosis that's sweeping across the world right now because people are realizing it's so beneficial and that it does work. And it's not making someone quack like a duck. It's therapy, and you can actually, it's not just helping to stop people smoking cigarettes or helping someone who's got they're anxious about speaking before an engagement. There's so much more to it. It's so much more involved. And hypnosis is such a great tool to use for therapists to just get true and lasting change.
And it's interesting, Scott, that you said that, because there'll be times when we'll be dealing with something and dealing with an issue. Maybe it's insomnia or quitting smoking or something like this, and we'll deal with this and we'll start to deal with the issue. But there's underlying things that are there, and we'll actually be solving some problem that's been there, that's been stored up, that's been the real problem. Not just the problem we think it is, but the real problem, which is underlying, the secondary gain type stuff. And so here's the thing. We never know what's going to happen till it happens, and we just start uncovering what's there and opening it up, and then finding the solution and the way out, finding that peace. And that's where I really enjoy using my modality based off the faith, the forgiveness, and the love. Because if I'm coming to a person from their view of the world, with their view of where the real true healing power lies, and then we clear up that mess, that stuff that blocks us from getting to where we really need to be, the forgiveness portion, and get rid of that stuff, that baggage we've been carrying, that muck, for a lack of a better word to say. And when we can get rid of that, we can get to a point of freedom where we can just express ourselves and heal ourselves first by loving ourselves. And then when we got it, then we have it to give, And so I think that's why it works so well. And it's very similar. We talked about this before, me and you, in the past. It's very similar to the Ho'oponopono stuff, where,
It
sit here and we look at this, and when we really examine it, we say, I'm sorry. Now, just saying I'm sorry isn't just meaning I'm sorry. It's meaning I'm not going to do this no more. I mean, if we really mean I'm sorry and do it with intention and promise, it means we're going to stop that. We want to stop that behavior. But even if the behavior stops, the residue of the stuff that happened is still there. So the second part is please forgive me. And that please forgive me that's what I was talking about with the baggage, the muck, the stuff that's carrying, the residue or the results of our behavior patterns. So we get to that forgiveness. It's almost like we're making amends and cleaning up our mess. Because when we can get there first and be willing to do the process of forgiveness, and then actually doing the process of forgiveness and cleaning up the mess and making amends and making things right that was wrong, especially when it's inside ourselves, what happens is we can get freedom from that. It's like washing it clean. And it's a point of freedom from that weight that we carry. And when we get freedom from that weight, we can step into the love, where we can truly love ourselves and appreciate ourselves for who we are. That's the part where it says, I love you. It says, I'm sorry, please forgive me. I love you. But see, it doesn't stop at I love you. I stop at I love you in faith, forgiveness, and love. But when you carry that love out, that's when you get into the point of gratitude. And it's thank you. I was reading, and I was we get free, and there's people are happy, and then there's joyous. And I thought, well, happy and joyous, that sounds like the same thing. So I had to get a dictionary and look it up. And being happy and being joyous are not the same thing. Happy is when we're really grateful for what we got. But joyous has to do when we're carrying it with others and we see things happen in other people's lives. That's when we experience great joy. So that's where the ripple effect starts to come in, right? We take that love and we spread that love, and we can experience that joy. So we start with the belief, our beliefs, use those beliefs, employ those beliefs, because we all believe in the good. And then we take those beliefs and we clean out that, it's kind of like if you have a pipe and it's dirty and clogged, you got to get it clean so that the water flows. And once we can get that out and get that clean and get that open, we can grab that faith and that belief and that strong power of love or the source and just let it run right through that pipe fully. And then we can take that love and just spread it all over the place. So yeah, that's a little bit of an analogy that I thought I'd throw out there.
That FFL modality, it works.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
works.
And it's interesting because a lot of times we talk about different things, but today I guess we're focusing on pretty much on, kind of my book and the modality and kind of some of the things that I've been doing. But we've been discussing it for a while, Scott, and personally, not now we're doing it on the podcast. And you've watched this thing evolve. And I know that you have experienced practicing some of the principles that we're talking about in your
I
life.
have.
And how does
After I read the book, after I read this book, your book, I'm not going to say this book. After I read your book, I realized that if I was, as a healer, as a hypnotist, if I were to put the teachings of Jesus Christ first with every single thing that I did, how far could I make it through the day? Okay, so I challenged myself, and luckily I have a dog, and so that was the easy part. But I was, this is a long little story, but I was riding on my motorcycle on the way to town, and I looked on the side of the road, and I saw a guy laying on the side of the road. He had just been hit by a car. It looked as if he was hit by a car. He was on a bicycle. The bicycle was twisted, laying next to this guy. He had groceries and his belongings, and they were scattered all over the ground. And I passed by him. He was on a curve, and I was coming around the curve and saw him. And when I went around the curve, the guy was just sitting there in this mess, just looking down at the ground. So I passed him up and I hit the brakes, pulled off to the side of the road, turned around and went back to the guy. And when I got there, the guy was having, I would say, a mental episode. I don't think the guy was probably sane to a point where I don't think he was injured and it was an injury speaking. I don't think this guy was in his right mind to begin with. And I went up to him, and as I approached him, I just said, I'm going to approach him in a way that it's not different from what I normally would do, but I'm going to try to add the love first to see if I treat this guy with this love, how this is going to play out, if it would play out any different. Not that I wouldn't treat someone with disrespect or non-loving, but I just wanted to be more loving towards this guy and try to be more understanding of his situation. So I asked him if he needed any help, and he said, "Get the F away from me." Okay. And so he was screaming at me. And I said, "I'm not going to touch you. I'm not here to bother you. I'm not going to take any of your things." I said, "Get the F away from me." And I said, "I just checking to make sure that you're okay. Your belongings are in the street. I'm going to gather them up for you, and I'm going to put them right here next to you. I'm not going to bother you. I'm not going to touch you. I'm not taking any of your things, but I don't want them to get scattered across the road when the traffic goes by." And I said, "Are you okay?" I said, "I'm fine. Leave me the F alone." And he said, "Get out of here." So a car had a truck and had pulled up, had seen what had happened, and also done a U-turn, but did a legal U-turn and came back around to where we were. And he pulled off, and the guy was screaming at me when he pulled up. And he goes, "I saw it happen. There was a truck who passed really close to him, and the wind from the truck knocked this guy off his bike, and the guy hit real hard, and his arm had a scrape on it. His knee had a scrape on it. He wasn't wearing a shirt. He was very dirty." And I asked him if he needed anything. I had water on my bike, if I could leave him some water, if he needed anything. And he started speaking unintelligible and telling me where to go. And so I told the guy in the truck, "I think it's a good time. The guy would like to be left alone. This gentleman would like to be left alone. I think now would be a good time that we just leave him be." He doesn't seem like he's injured in any way where he would need an ambulance. He's got a couple scrapes. He wants to be left alone. So That's basically what I did. I would have done the exact same thing, but I don't know if I would have handled it verbally the same way that I did. I just, I don't know. I just handled it a lot softer than I normally would, it seems. And it it was a good situation. I mean, everything worked out the way it normally would. It's just I felt better about myself when I was done with that situation.
Yeah, but well, you're saying that you did it way different than you normally do.
Well, I did it different than I normally do. Normally, I guess I would walk up to somebody like that would be on the side of the road and they had just been in an accident. And if they were giving me grief, I would say, listen, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm not here to fuck with you. I'm here to help you. That's how I normally would approach something like that. But this time I approached it totally different. I went in it with the thought of how would Jesus handle this, I guess. Or I went into it with the thought of how do I approach this in the most loving way possible?
Yes.
That's the difference.
And it made a difference inside you too, didn't it?
It did. It really did. I was a lot calmer. I was shocked that I was a lot calmer, even though I don't get excited in an emergency. But my tone was way lower. I mean, I was on a whole different level when I approached it with that kindness and love first. It was that's what made the difference. There was a marked difference in the way I approached that situation.
Nice. Nice. See, and the fact that you've practiced it and it works, I get joy from that to see that. And so, I love seeing this happen. And I know that it can happen for all of us. So,
Well, it was injecting love into the situation. And it wasn't that I would have been unkind otherwise. It was just the way I started thinking about the situation before I reacted. I was in the medical field forever, so I react immediately. I don't think about things when there's an emergency. I just react and I do what I do. So this was a totally different take back for me. So that's why it was a big moment for me because I said FFL. I had just finished reading, at breakfast before I was going into town on my motorcycle. So yeah, it was very, very cool.
nice. Nice. Well, I'm glad you had an opportunity to try to practice it. And I've been doing it a lot whenever I, help people with trance. And I find that a lot of times when I go through this method, there's a deeper healing level that we reach. I mean, it's a lot better than the medical field where they say if you got a headache, take a Tylenol or an ibuprofen and you'll cure the headache. But the problem isn't a lack of Tylenol or ibuprofen in the system. There's something else that's causing it. And if we can just get to the root of what the real problem is, that's causing that turmoil in our lives, and we can fix those problems, then we get real solid healing.
Well, these little things that bother people, chewing their nails, biting their nails or whatever, or little angry tidbits, twirling their hair, doing these things, the little quirks that people have, they're telling you something. If you've got these quirks, they're probably telling you something. If you're anxious, if you're excitable, if you get angry, if you just don't have that confidence, whatever it is, there's an underlying cause. And a hypnotist can figure out that underlying cause because a hypnotist helps you to help yourself. Because all this healing from a hypnotist isn't the hypnotist, it's actually you yourself.
Absolutely. And sometimes we don't even have to know what it is to figure it out. We'll just sit there. I find this works really well. And just say, let's take this issue, whatever it is, you can keep it and cause it as a blockage and use metaphor and have them clear the blockage and get rid of it. And we don't even have to know what it is to get rid of it. So there's so many powerful things that can happen. And I just believe that if we really focus on the true nature of the healing and the power that we all have within us, and getting in touch with our internal belief system, it makes all the difference in the world. Yeah.
I think Jesus was the one 2,000 years ago, over 2,000 years ago, that was preaching faith, forgiveness, and love, and said your life would be better if you practiced it.
Yeah, I think it was Jesus. I think Buddha
I think you're just reiterating.
Yeah, I think Buddha did it, Confucius did it. There's so many great prophets who are just focused on, spreading that caring message and concern for others through the love. Yeah, I think it's universal. I just happen to use Jesus as the example to help institute the book, but I really think it goes much, much more universal than that.
I believe so. Jason, this has been great getting to know about your modality, getting to know more about you. And it's been great having you on the passenger side of the bus today, riding as a passenger down your Magical Psyche Highway. It's been great learning more about it.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Thanks for taking over the wheel for a while and let me just enjoy the ride. So that's been kind of fun. So yeah, it's been fun doing it this way this time. So yeah, I guess because of Easter, guys, we didn't get a guest that lined up. A lot of them are busy with their families and what have you. We got a great guest lined up next week though. And so I guess you got stuck with me today. That's okay. We got our show in and we're going to continue to have it every single week, no matter what happens. So with that, man, it's been great. Scott, you have anything you want to add?
Hey, what a great trip it's been.
Okay, guys, remember, if you like us, give us the thumbs up. If you think we're assholes, give us the thumbs down. We don't care. We really don't. We just want you to come back. We want you to comment. We want you to share the videos. Just follow us and, enjoy the trip. So thanks for taking that strange trip down my magical psyche highway today, and we'll see you next week.
Wow, what a trip. Thanks for taking that journey with us today. Please like us, share us, and enlighten us with your views of the topics we drove into today. We appreciate you and love reading your comments. Thanks again, and we hope to see you back on the bus next week. That's right.